Firefighters taking the steps. All right, we're live. We're live here at the back of the field house here in Lake Worth, Texas. I'm here with Coach Tracy Welch after a great victory last night over Western Hills Cougars. Now, the score doesn't tell it all from last night. We started out a little bit slow on offense, and Cougars actually came out with the first touchdown last night. There at a minute and 20 left to go in the first quarter.
I did, and I didn't know if you're going to keep going there, Joey.
Yeah.
I'm watching the film right now as we're going through this, and Western Hills, first of all, they're athletic. They've got a good football team over there, good athletes, and they came out motivated and fired up. Our word last night for our team was energy, and I thought our kids had good energy. We didn't get our heads down. We had the very first series there, and they stopped us. Well, we had a great punt, put it down to the 5-yard line, and I thought Western Hills did a good job of controlling the clock. And really, they ran we didn't start scoring until the second quarter, but Western Hills in time of possession had a great advantage over us in that first quarter, and that's kind of the thought going in. We didn't score points till the second quarter. Well, Western Hills did a good job of controlling the clock the first quarter. Then we came out and we had the punt. They bobbled it and we got it, and that just kind of changed the momentum right there. All week long, I kept talking to the kids about, in the game of life, it's not the big stumbling blocks oftentimes that set us back. It's all the little ones. And we focused last night on eliminating a lot of the little stumbling blocks. And I think we did. And I think Western Hills is the one that took the stumbling blocks. They had the fumbled punt. They had just little things that kept over and over and over and over that kept hurting them, shooting themselves in the foot. And we took advantage of it last night finally. So I was proud of our kids for that.
Yeah, 'cause we mentioned that last night. Definitely, as you got the advantage in certain different points, whether it was the punt or whether it was the kickoff that the returner tried to catch it high, bounce off the top of his head. You guys really capitalized on that last night. A big thing that we saw last night is we saw the defense stand a little bit taller last night.
We worked hard all week. Before we go to the defense, let me talk about our kicker right fast. Abraham Polito, I thought, did a good job last night.
Yes, sir.
The opening kickoff. First of all, Western Hills took the ball. They won the toss and took the ball. So that tells you right there that maybe the respect wasn't there for our defense. That fired our defense up. Abraham come out the very first kickoff and put it over the kid's head. He had to reach up for it and ended up getting the ball down there at about the 10-yard line. Stopped them on the 10-yard line, so I was very proud of that. The first punt we had, Abraham punted 48 yards. Ball went out on the 5-yard line. When I talked about time of possession a while ago, that's what I'm talking about. So they got the ball in the -5 and had a really good drive there, which ate up a lot of that clock. But Abraham was perfect on field goals, extra points. Did a good job punting, a good job kicking off. We had the pooch over here on the right-hand side that we went over and covered it. Man, beautiful kick. The ball was end over end, really high, hit the ground, spun like a golf ball. Not my golf balls, but a real golfer's golf balls. But the ball spun backwards, and we got that one. So very, very proud of Abraham and what he did in the kicking game last night. Defensively, we focused all week on flying to the football, just having the energy and the little swagger to ourselves. I didn't feel like we came into that game against Slinger with a swagger. And so I thought last night we did a much better job. When the whistle blew, we're giving the kids 3 seconds to get to the ball. And today, as we're watching film, if we're not getting to the ball within 3 seconds, there's going to be little things we got to handle with those kids, and they knew that. So I think getting to the ball, having that swagger and success is really going to help us going forward.
Yes, I believe so. Now, last night, defensive-wise, again this week, Craig Williams seemed to have a phenomenal game coming off that. The energy that he pushed, I think you see the energy that he just kind of permeates through the defense, and they just go crazy. It's almost like you see a dog out there, you throw a raw piece of meat and everybody hits it. And last night, the group tackling and just that edge that he was setting, deeper in the backfield than we had seen in a couple weeks prior says a lot for him.
Craig's playing well, and you're right. He has a lot of energy, a lot of excitement right now. When you play well, you know that. You feel comfortable and you get a little swagger. And Craig's getting a little swagger to himself right now, and I'm proud for that. Another one I thought played well last night, had 2 interceptions, was Isaiah Hall back there at free safety. Now, if we'd got the ball back there late in the fourth quarter, Isaiah was going to quarterback, but I thought Isaiah played well. I thought our defensive line did a much better job. But you hit the nail on the head there. We hustled to the ball. We played with some swagger last night, and Craig is one of the main reasons why we put Marco De La Cruz at right guard on offense, which freed up Josh Salazar to play linebacker a lot more. So kind of keeping some kids fresh in there. We're trying to get to kind of a 2-platoon situation with a lot of our kids, and keep them a little fresher and get a little more swagger, a little more energy in the kids.
Oh, yeah, and that 2-platoon plays well anytime you can do that, because the rest that comes in between series there. Now let's and you mentioned Isaiah Hall. Isaiah Hall almost ended up with a third last night. There was a collision there at the end where they just came underneath the receiver. But, man, what aggressiveness coming from the secondary. We talked about it the last 2 weeks, just the improvement step by step of where they were, where the secondary was here at Lake Worth 2 seasons ago, should I say. I keep saying 2 years. 2 seasons ago to where it's at now just says a ton for Vince McAnally and staff that's going over that defense.
They are. They're doing a good job of getting better, and praise to the kids for working and fighting. Again, it's the energy, it's the determination, it's the attitude, it's all those words that we use frequently daily with the kids, and we're getting better. They're our kids are showing up on Saturday. They're here. They're working. We're having great practices, and just the attitude and the energy of these youngsters right now is what's making us get better.
Yes, sir. Now going on to the offensive side of the ball. Last night, I'm not sure that there's anybody on the offense that didn't have a great game when it came around to it. Although, there was a fumble that was out there by Pulte. But, other than that blemish, you look at last night's game, Cam Kimball had 4 touchdowns. The young Brandon Forrest filling in the shoes of his big brother. I'm almost thinking that his big brother's shoes might have been a little small for him, so he's trying to bust out of them. He had 4 touchdowns last night. It was just a showing of the weapons of Lake Worth offense last night.
I thought our coaching staff did a great job. Coach Raines and Coach Reed and Coach Fursick, the whole offensive staff did a very, very good job putting that game plan together. And I think they threw some wrinkles at them and kind of broke some tendencies there going into that ball game. But you're right, the players played well. Our offensive line, I think, is getting better and better. Again, if you don't forget, we've got, when you just talk about just the 5 offensive linemen, 2 of those kids are sophomores. Only 1 returning starter from last year, which is Ronnie Sears. So, it starts with your offensive line. And they're getting better. They're getting a little swagger to themselves, a little confidence in there, and I'm proud of that. We've got some offensive skill position weapons back there, like you said a while ago. We've got, I thought Pulte ran the ball last night at fullback one time and really looked good. So you got Pulte back there, you got Cam back there, you got Brandon Forrest, who's really stepped up and doing a good job. Against Sanger, Brandon had 102 yards. They were quiet yards because he had 60-something rushing and hit that big screen pass play down there for 30-something yards. So Brandon is really getting some confidence, getting some swagger in himself, and our receiving core. Which one do you want to stop? Because the other one's just as good. So you got a Roscoe and Mark Fulkerson and Pulte out there. And then I thought the coaches did a good job last night. We came out, we saw some things at halftime that they were doing. We thought we could sneak Brandon out of the backfield down the middle of the field. So on the negative 25-yard line there, the very first play of the second half, we brought Brandon out of the backfield right through the middle of the formation. He was untouched for 75-yard touchdown pass play from Caleb. So, again, I thought Caleb played well last night. Just a solid leader for our offense. I think he ended up about 376 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. Twice on those passes plays, we got down to the 1-yard line, which we ran the ball in. So 3 touchdowns could have been 5 touchdowns. But again, just the kids are gelling. I shouldn't say gelling. They're working hard. We're getting better, and we're getting a little swagger to ourselves. And that swagger means a lot. When you're confident and you have that energy and you're working hard. One of the things we say around here is a ready man doesn't have to get ready, and our kids are getting themselves ready. They're focusing in practice. We're working hard in practice. We're running in practice. You're not seeing the cramps. You're not seeing the guys get tired and have to come out of the ball game. That goes back to the coaching staff for working these kids so hard.
Yes, sir. And last night up in the box, we had Tim Clark, alumni here, 2008. He was an offensive lineman, defensive lineman. So the line definitely got a lot of love last night. I want to give a little extra love to Ronnie Sears. I know him being the solo senior on that offensive line, and I was told, I've seen his parents. I coached him down when he was younger, and I heard he got a little invite to go to the All-American game.
That sounds great. I'm glad of that.
It was awesome. So for me, going from Pee Wee, coming all the way up, and you're getting kids that are getting recognized. We saw there was a news channel here again last night, just coming out and trying to see what's being stirred up in Lake Worth.
Well, we were one of the big games of the night. We were NBC 5, big game tonight, and Mr. Doney came out, and I was very thankful for him for doing that for us, and come over here and we played well for him. We had the old coach was here last night, and I was glad for that. We had 3 colleges here last night, so a lot of exciting things right now happening in Bullfrog football.
Yes, sir. Going back, I know you had mentioned the kicker earlier in the kicking game. You guys changed him over to a punter as well. And you saw the punt game this week, although he didn't have to punt very much. But, man, talking about putting him in a coffin corner down there deep inside their zone, man, what a great job by the kicker.
His first punt was 48 yards. And if you ever notice real closely, Joey, we don't give up punt return yards. So we directionally punt. Maybe our punts are maybe a little bit shorter, even though his first one went 48, which is really, really good. The next 2 went 30 yards, but we're not giving up punt returns. So that 30-yard punt is a net 30 yards. It's not a 30-yard punt with a 12-yard return. So only 18 yards net there. So very proud of that. Our blocking last night was good. They gave him time. He was our punter last year as a freshman. He did our kicking and punting as a freshman last year. We started off with somebody else this year, and Polito just kept working and in practice, and I saw the improvement, the growing on him. And again, when you got a sophomore and you don't want to put too much on him too early. So we went with somebody else the first 2 games. Last night we came out with him, and again, besides our offensive line missing a block at the first of the year, he's perfect on extra points. And then last night he took the punting game over and did a good job with that. And I think our kickoffs are getting better and better. So very proud of Abraham Polito and what he's doing for us.
Yes, sir. And coming up next, who do we have next?
We're ready. If Coach Raines over, we'll get Coach Raines up here.
All right. We got Coach Tracy Raines coming up to speak a little bit on the offense. Going to give us some numbers and a little talk. This is his first debut on the show this year, as he'd always been on in years past. But it's his first debut this year. How's it going, Coach?
Glad to be back, Joey. How are you doing?
Doing good, doing good. So, the first 2 weeks, the offense, you guys are on a run for putting points on the board and finding the open spots.
Well, Joey, I'll say this. When you've got the skill players that we've got, my philosophy is getting it in the playmakers' hands and letting them make a play. And, of course, we've got a good quarterback back there as a dealer, and he deals it around. And it may be one guy on week 1 and a different guy on week 2, and then you see a third guy on week 3. I think you saw a little bit of Brandon Forrest coming out of the backfield last night, making some big catches also. And so we have done, our coaches have done a great job of distributing the ball around and getting it in the different hands. And it makes it hard for somebody to key on just one person. And when they do, they're trying to stop one person. We're able to get it to those other people, and they're open. And our offensive line is doing a great job. They're coming on. We've been working on our run game these past week here, because our run game struggled a little bit the first 2 weeks, but I think it came on a little bit last night. Our linemen started standing on their blocks a little bit more, and excited about that in the future too.
Oh yeah, and speaking of that, run on the ground. Me and Coach Welch talked about it, about y'all having the same first name, but we talked about last night. Man, what a job Brandon Forrest is doing filling those shoes of his older brother.
Yeah.
And just the game that he had last night, we just could not rave about it anymore last night, from rushing touchdowns to receiving touchdowns.
Yep. And he did a great job. Of course, we mixed Cam in there a little bit last night and Brandon. And, of course, Forrest being the same last name as his brother and replacing him, that makes it a little bit tough on a family situation there. But it's a job that he's wanting to do and a challenge that he's wanting to accept. So, and he's doing a good job with it. So.
Oh, yeah. You can tell, talking about being tough when brothers playing the same position. His mom definitely gave me I loved it. She kept getting after me. He's like, no, call him by Brandon in the public. I was like, okay, we got other nicknames we have for him. We don't use it. So moving on, though, last night I thought was a pretty good breakout Cam coming on from last season. He's been a little quiet early on.
Yep.
In this game, it just seemed like he came out and exactly what you expect out of Cam Kimball.
That's right. Cam was coming off an injury earlier in the year, and but we've been working him back into the game plan. We know what he can do. We saw him at the end of last year. We saw him all of last year, matter of fact, and he's just another dimension that we've got there. Whether it's out of the backfield, he's so versatile. He can play fullback. He can play tailback. He can play outside single receiver. He can play slot receiver. We can put him at any spot in there. And I think you noticed a lot of our formations last year, we would have him on a single receiver side, or we would have him in a slot side, or we'd have him in a fullback position, or he even played tailback. So did all four of them last year, and going to be able to do the same this year. So.
And that's great. That's great to see, is with the weapons we were talking about earlier, we're full of weapons this year. And I think that, any one defense, if they don't have everything on lock, we're going to find the gap. And it looks like you guys did a great job exploiting that gap last night as Mark Fulkerson was settling down in that flood route right there in that empty area. And him and Caleb were just connecting all night.
Coaches did a great job of finding that area, finding that play. That's actually a read play there for the quarterback. And so when he's coming out, he's reading that outside linebacker there. And Caleb does a great job of those plays and finding those. I think you saw a little bit of that in the McGregor game, too, when Pulte had scored 2 or 3 touchdowns there. But the assistant coach did a great job of putting that together throughout the week, and then Caleb does a great job of executing it on Friday night. So.
Oh, yeah. And last week, Mark Fulkerson had a breakout game. I mean, first week, Pulte had a breakout game, 166 yards on 7 catches. Last week, Mark Fulkerson had a breakout game, 12 catches for 236 yards. This week, the breakout between Cam Kimball and Brandon Forrest,
yeah.
I mean, Orozco's up next, maybe. I don't know, but Orozco had a couple great catches last night as well to get us down the field that led into some touchdowns as well.
Orozco's a great possession receiver for us there. He gets so close to the end zone sometimes. I'm not sure how he doesn't get in there, but you're right. Just like we talked about Brandon before coming out of the backfield, he had 2 long catches last night. Both of them were over 50 yards, so I'm sure he had close to 150 yards receiving last night. And then Cam in the backfield. So, yeah, there's a lot of weapons there, Joey. We're excited to have them. And even behind them, we do have a little bit more depth than we did last year, too. So.
Oh, that's great. We're going to get to Caleb last because I give him the forefront all week long, and I'm going to cap him off on offense this week. But, man, last night up in the box, we had Tim Clark, alumni of 2008. He was an offensive lineman here and a defensive lineman here. And he could not get off that offensive line and what they were doing last night, and just giving them all the credit, because that last night, the offensive line, it looked like they were clicking on all cylinders, and they were I think that I saw Caleb maybe get pressured once or twice, but they still gave him a pocket to slide into.
Yes.
It was a great play by the offensive line.
Yep. And that's usually in coaching football, and you've done it with Little League several years, that's usually the last group that comes together is the offensive line, because they've got to work together as a unit. But they are coming on, and they're getting better, and we're moving some people around in there, and every week they just seem to be clicking just a little bit better, and that's where we got to continue to improve to get ready for district. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. And to cap all the offense off, the arm that Caleb Welch is and the read that he is, just reading the offenses, making his check downs. I know some of those check downs are different for everybody. I won't let any secrets go out here, but you see him getting out there and really taking command. We all know that he's a quiet leader, and he leads by example and goes out there. And kind of when he opens his mouth and says something to one of the players, it's a big deal.
Right.
And, me, junior session, being my younger brother and being at home with me, he came up to me and he goes, "Hey, man, guess what?" I was like, "What?" He goes, "I got a chance to run some receiver." And Caleb came and told me I did a good job. I was like, man, that's a big deal. Your quarterback comes up, but he's such a quiet leader. But last night, again, just showed how mature he is, how much poise he has to just sit back and read and put up great numbers. He's now over in 3 games, over 1,000 yards in the air.
I think he's pretty close to 1,100. That's right, and that's tremendous. Starting off the 3 ball games. Of course, you like to project out, but you can't do that. You got to go game by game. But he's on pace for a great season. So I think last night, out of over 100 and something throws, he threw first interception of the year last night, which is you never want to throw that first one, but after 100 and something throws, that's pretty outstanding. So.
Oh, yes, it is. And that's going to cap off our offensive segment. Coach, we appreciate you dropping in here and giving us a little insight. Thank you so much. We look forward to next week.
Thank you, Joy. Appreciate it.
Next coming up, we have the Vance McAnally. And he came in and he's wearing the I got
purple on today.
Yeah, but it still says Lake Worth on it, so we're good.
Yeah.
As long as everybody can read that. Hey, Coach, congratulations last night. And I just want to say, job well done so far at the beginning of the season. I know you wasn't on the show the first 2 weeks. Tracy and I had talked about just the page that has turned with this defense, the difference that you see. Big deal is the secondary. A big change in the secondary and what you're seeing, Coach.
Yeah, we've made some adjustments, but the kids, probably the number one thing is the kids have got more experience. They've got more. They understand better, and we did some really good things last night back there. I had 2 big busts, and both of those, that's what's going to happen. If you get a bust in the secondary, that's a big play. So we've got to eliminate those. But overall, I mean, we got after it, and then what we had 2 interceptions, I believe, last night by Isaiah Hall, and that was all because he was in the right spot. He did his job, and it's kind of like playing baseball. When you're the free safety, you got to play a little deep so you can come up on the ball. It's football, baseball, same difference. It's a lot easier to come forward than it is to go back. And so we've been really trying to emphasize that, stay as deep as the deepest, break up on the football. And so just little things, just little coaching things that have definitely made a difference in the secondary.
Oh, yeah. And last night, we've seen it from game 1, even back to the scrimmage. Craig Williams is bringing some energy that I think is just permeating through the defense.
It is.
He gets live, and everybody else gets live, and you're seeing a lot more gang tackles. We call it, the army of Bullfrogs making the tackle, and so you're seeing a lot more pursuit of the ball.
Yeah, well, that's been an emphasis, and it was a real big emphasis this week. Was getting to the ball. We want to see, when the whistle blows, we want to see 11 Bullfrogs around that ball, and we did many times last night. So that was good. Craig the first week. Craig and I, they don't keep stats, and we don't keep stats on that kind of stuff. But Craig caused 5 fumbles. That's an amazing stat. When you
in
one game he forced 5 fumbles. We recovered 3 of them. 2 of them they got back. But I mean, when you're creating turnovers like that, that's a good thing. And he even created one and he also created an interception week 1 that Isaiah Hall had. He was on a blitz, and he's long. He's 6'2.5", probably 6'3". He's got real long arms, and so he blitzed off the edge. And when he raises his arms, that's tough for that quarterback. Well, the quarterback, he either tipped it. I don't know exactly what happened, but it was because of him that ball was thrown crazy, and Isaiah picked it and took it, 30, 40 yards return, and then he had a blocked. Last week he had a blocked extra point. He's done just about everything possible out there. He's had sacks, tackles for losses. He's definitely been he's been our MVP so far. He's a good kid, hardworking, really come a long ways last couple of years, and so He's growing.
And last night we saw he almost ended with a third, but then there was a collision that ended up leading to a reception.
Yeah.
But the defense still stood tall
Yeah.
and kept them from getting in and put enough pressure on the field goal kicker that he hit the left upright, and so no more points scored. So last year I think the score ended 50-7 or something close to that, and this year kept them to 7 points again.
Yeah, it was big. It was big, and the boys never they never let up. And you know we're rotating guys in there, and some guys not getting they didn't get a ton of snaps, but boy, when they got in there, they made things happen. You know, certainly proud of the fight last night. You know, all 3 weeks we fought. We even against Sanger. Now that kid against Sanger, we didn't tackle him. Period. We just didn't tackle him. But we came back but we never quit. We never stopped. You know, even though he had a lot of yards and all that, but we never quit. We never gave up, and that's the sign that we're going in the right direction. And these kids, there's no quit in them. Offense, defense, special teams. It's a joy to be around them.
It's taken us 3 seasons. This is the 3rd season with you guys here, 3 seasons, and it seems like you guys have coached the quit out of them.
Oh, yeah.
Early on, two seasons ago when you were here, you get down by 14 points early. It's like it's going to be a game where it's 60-something to nothing or 60-something to a few.
It was tough. It was tough. And I go back to that second game that we were ever here against Joshua, at Joshua. You know, they got up on us. They hit us with a couple of they stopped us and scored, stopped us and scored. So they went up 14. And, yeah, you could just see the wind go out of our sails. And, I mean, it was I'd never seen anything like that. And so, yeah, it takes a different kind of coaching. And so we had to adjust our style, and we've done it. And it's working out. Kids don't give up, but it goes back to off season and things like that. I've always focusing on not giving up, whether you're 20 yards ahead, 20 yards behind. We're always working. You know, the scoreboard takes care of itself, and they've learned through the years. JV, freshmen, these kids who's been on varsity this whole time. The scoreboard does take care of itself.
It does. And, you know, I'm glad you mentioned that Joshua game because you guys came back the next year and took care of business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that says a lot in moving forward. I'm excited about the season. I'm excited about all aspects of the ball, all the weapons on offense, and all the excitement that is on defense. And last night, getting our interceptions last night,
yeah.
just turn them up to a different level. Coach, well, congratulations on the win last night.
Thanks,
and we
Joey.
look forward to this week against Venus.
You bet. Go Bullfrogs.
That's right. And that's it. You guys heard it right here on Bullfrog Radio, Bullfrog Football, and Lake Worth ISD YouTube page. Bullfrogs take that victory last night, 57-7, over the top of the Western Hills Cougars. Great game for both sides of the ball. Next week, we'll be at Venus, so the Bullfrogs go on the road to Venus. That start time is looking to be 7:30 p.m. We look to go live at 7 p.m. live on the radio and fix the camera, fix the connection. 100% this week. I'm calling it from the station. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.